Welcome to my channel. Today's scary story is called The Jinn's Curse, the House That No One Leaves. In the middle of nowhere in India, there is a village of simple poor people. And deep in the fields, far from the rest of the town, lies an old abandoned house. Locals say this home has been locked up for more than 50 years, since before most of them were born. Nobody knows who used to live there or why they vanished without a trace. But everyone knows that no one dares to walk past it at night. They say if you do, you'll see strange flickering lights coming from inside the windows. And when you hear those lights, it means you should run away fast, because whatever is inside that house wants to kill you. For many years, the villagers avoided the house, telling stories around their fires about how dangerous it was, how even animals won't go near it. But one day, a group of young men decided to check it out. It was just an old house, right? So what could possibly be inside? On the way over, one of the boys looked back at the village. "Don't worry, guys," he said with a laugh. "I won't let anything bad happen to you. I'm a soldier, remember? Even if there is something dangerous in there, I'll protect you all." But little did they know, this boastful young man would soon wish he never set foot in that house. As darkness fell, they crept closer to the house, the wind picking up around them. When they got close enough, they saw that the main front door was slightly ajar, as if someone had left it unlocked on purpose. It was then that they heard a sudden creak, and the door swung open slowly, like something was pulling it apart with invisible hands. "Wow," whispered one of the boys. "It's like the house wanted us to come in." They stepped through the threshold and entered the house. Inside, it was pitch black, but after a few moments, their eyes began to adjust to the gloom. Then they started noticing things, like the broken rocking chair moving on its own in the corner. There were walls covered with faded handprints, as if made by children who had lived here long ago. And there were also dark stains on the floor that looked exactly like dried blood. Then, suddenly, one of the boys gasped. In the corner of the room, an old candle had somehow lit up by itself. But that wasn't the only strange thing. Another one of the boys stared at the cracked window pane beside him. He saw his own reflection looking back at him, but something didn't feel right. His reflection didn't seem to be moving the same way he was. It was like it was alive, breathing on its own. At that moment, they all heard a whisper, a raspy whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Why have you come here?" Their blood ran cold. They had come here to find out if the house was haunted, and now they were being told not to be there. But their most courageous friend shrugged off his fear and stepped forward into the room's center. As he did, something appeared to rise up in the shadows. At first, it was just a vague shape, inky black smoke curling upwards. But slowly, it took on a clearer form. It was a tall, emaciated figure with long arms and legs. Its skin was the color of ashes, and its eyes glowed a terrifying blood red in the darkness. The boys screamed and ran for the door, but it was too late. As they stumbled towards the exit, the doors slammed shut with a loud bang, and the room plunged into total darkness. Trapped inside the house of horrors, the boys cried out for help, but nobody could hear them. They pounded on the door, but it didn't budge. Something was blocking them from getting out. One of them found a doorknob and tried to turn it, but it was locked from the outside. "I knew we shouldn't have come here," whimpered one of the boys, but their bravest friend refused to give up. He felt around the room in the darkness, trying to find another way out. And finally, he found it. Hidden behind a loose floorboard was a narrow opening. Carefully, they clambered through the hole one by one until they found themselves in a dark, dank cellar. Here, cobwebs hung like thick curtains from the ceiling, and the air was heavy with the stench of decay. But they didn't care. They just kept running deeper into the labyrinth until they reached the stairs. When they finally burst out of the house, they didn't stop running until they were back at the edge of town. Panting and terrified, they turned back to look at the house, half expecting to see the Jinn chasing them. But it was nowhere to be seen. They had escaped, but only barely. And as they ran, one of them noticed something odd. Under his fingernails, he could see tiny black markings that weren't there before. They were ancient symbols he couldn't quite place, but they seemed to be glowing faintly in the moonlight. "Guys," he whispered, horrified, "look at this." They stared at each other in disbelief. They had all been marked by the Jinn. Too scared to return to the house, they fled to the nearest police station and told the officer everything that had happened. Of course, he thought they were insane. A ghost? A Jinn? What kind of nonsense was this? He told them to get home safely and try not to be so imaginative in the future. So the boys did as they were told. But once they were back in the safety of their homes, they noticed that the strange symbols under their fingernails were glowing brighter than before. And wherever they went, the villagers acted as if they hadn't been seen in years. Whenever anyone looked at them, they felt a chill down their spines. It was as if the Jinn had cursed them somehow. Determined to break the curse, one of the boys returned to the house the next morning. This time, he brought a flashlight with him and some friends. Together, they searched every room and uncovered a small, torn page from an old Quran hidden under the floorboards. It was filled with ancient writing, but one phrase stood out. They read, "This house was burned long ago, but one Jinn survived. In its rage, it cursed this place, vowing to trap the soul of anyone who dares to enter." They quickly realized that one of their friends wasn't with them anymore. His eyes were now white and soulless, and he spoke in a deep, distorted voice. "Now you are mine," he hissed, reaching out a hand towards them. But the others fought back, desperate to break free of his grasp. The room began to shake violently. The lights flickered wildly, and the wind howled as if something powerful was stirring within the house. Then, as if sensing their escape, the Jinn screamed in rage. The sound echoed throughout the house, shaking the very foundations. As they struggled to free themselves from the Jinn's clutches, the boys desperately searched for a way out, knowing that if they didn't find one fast, they would be trapped in that house forever. But where could it be? They had already checked everywhere. Finally, remembering the cellar from the night before, they ran to the stairs. Would it lead them back to safety this time? As they descended into the darkness, the sound of their friends' maniacal laughter echoed above them. Had the Jinn possessed him completely now? Back in the village, the sun rose higher in the sky. But at the cursed house, the clock had stopped at midnight. Now enveloped in eternal darkness, the boys scrambled through the cellar, their hearts pounding in their chests. And as they stumbled out of the house one by one, the villagers noticed that the house was eerily silent. And that wasn't the only thing that struck them as odd. On the wooden table inside, they saw the names of the missing boys carved into the surface. But how could this be? They had all escaped the night before. Or had they? They all stared at the table, realizing the terrible truth. Some of the boys had stayed in that house forever. They had become part of its curse. No one ever leaves this house. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button and share with a friend. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video.